Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. I am super thrilled and excited to bring you the first episode of Carnivore-Ish Conversations. Welcome to this episode. You may be asking, what is the ish? The ish is, the ish is informed, satiated, and healing. So I believe deep down in my soul that the goal is for us to get informed. When we get informed, then we will not be walking around unless we are satiated. You're going to learn more about satiety from me. And then when we get satiated, we can start healing. And so I'm excited about tonight. This is really the show where meat meets the mind and structure meets the soul. This is for everyone. Anyone can be here, male, female. I call them nutritional kings, nutritional queens, kids. Bring everybody because we all are in need of a healing. Now, I know a lot of you get thrown off when you hear carnivore in any sentence in any state and you kind of bag back off of it. This is why I have carnivore-ish. You know how we say 7-ish? We're going to make it at 7-ish. We're going to make it at 5-ish. So that's the same thing we're saying tonight is that we're going to operate in this space of ish because it's not militant, right? It really is an opportunity for us to figure out metabolically where are we. That's the goal in this space, and we want to make it a safe space. And so I'm super elated tonight to have Charles Mattocks here tonight to share his story, his carnivore-ish movement. And so just a little bit more about the ish, and then we're going to go into Charles. So this is really about getting information where we have been so misinformed, right? We are not knowledgeable. I'm a Bible girl too. So the Bible tells us that we perish because we lack knowledge. Like we literally are dying because we do not have the right type of knowledge. So we're spending our time Googling and guessing and depending on our doctors and medical professionals to help us in a space of healing, right? And it's just not happening. And so what we want to be able to do in this show is make sure that you walk away informed. That is the whole goal. You walk away informed. And so that's knowing how to read your lab work. You got to know how to read your lab work. You have to know what lab work to ask your doctor for. I hear so many times where we say things like, Doc said all my numbers are good, everything good, it's all in the green. And we really don't even understand what that lab work is, right? What is metabolic dysfunction? What's wrong with our metabolism? How is it that 93% of Americans are considered metabolically unhealthy? And so then we have to self-reflect and ask ourselves, what category do I fall into? Am I in the healed category or am I in the sick category? So you must know what's happening with your body. You can no longer allow your body to be a mystery to you. You guessing what's going on with your body, right? So then when we drop to the S and talk about satiated, one of my new favorite words, when I'm working with my clients, they're all walking around saying, oh no, I was satiated today. No, I had enough today. Like just hearing that term. So what does satiated mean? What does it mean? It's not the same as satisfied. Satiated means that you are filled up on the right thing so that you can do what you need to do. That is a state of satiety. That means that you have eaten maximum nutrients that your body can actually use. A lot of times we're eating stuff and our body can't use it. So that's when it starts to store. So we want you to be at a place of satiety, satiated. And guess what? When you're satiated, that is where the healing begins, because satiety means that you got the right stuff in you so your body can do the right thing. So let's look at healing. The first thing we got to do is be able to admit that we are sick. We are not well. I'm in that 93%. I'm in the high end now. I'm moving up. I've overcome lupus. I've overcome gout. I've overcome being pre-diabetic. I'm moving in a healing direction, but I still have to be real with myself and say that I'm still suffering with insulin resistance. How do I turn that around? I turn it around by getting informed and making sure I'm eating enough so that I am indeed satiated. So you may say, what does all this have to do with anything? So you have these ailments that you've been dealing with. Some doctors told you stop eating salt because that's what gave you high blood pressure. They diagnosed you with rheumatoid arthritis and gave you a medicine for that. PCOS, you got a medicine for almost everything except for figuring out what is the root cause of what's going on with you. And I'm here to tell you tonight that it's sugar. It is not meat. Sugar is cracking us. I know where I live, we say black don't crack. I'm saying sugar is cracking us as a whole. Like we are not getting better from sugar. So then we wear this badge of honor of, I don't eat meat. It's a badge of honor. Oh no, I don't have meat. Y'all, meat is the only thing that doesn't metabolize in your body as sugar. Let that rest in you. Let that rest in you, right? And the key macronutrients that we need for our body are fat and protein. Fat and protein. Carbohydrates are going to always be sugar. And so I wanted to just set up while we are here, trying to create a space where we can come together and have this courageous conversation around our healing. We can stop suffering in silence, not wanting to talk about what hurt, not wanting to talk about how many pills I'm on, how many times I've been to the doctor. I just recently talked with a friend who has been put on dialysis, and I would say dialysis prematurely. I had a conversation with a medical doctor recently that told me that there are numbers for Black and brown people that are considered normal. We're being told that a 5.6 A1C is normal, a 5.7 is normal, where the other persuasions are getting a different diagnosis. And so I know it feels strange to come to a space like this and really figure out how to heal and get to the root cause. But we have lived experience. I am scientifically trained to do this work, and I'm here for it. When I see something, I say something. So enough of that jargon. Y'all got the straight on it. Come back. If you haven't already liked, subscribed, and actually shared this with somebody tonight, please do. And if you are here for the replay, we thank you for that as well. But y'all, we coming out big tonight because we have with us Mr. Charles Mattocks. And man, this guy right here ain't playing with this health and healing thing. Who do you have before you tonight? You have the Emmy-nominated producer of the PBS series Reversed. Don't let that D fool you. I need you to know that that D means something. So guys, go now and Google and find Reversed. Doesn't stop there. Charles is also the best-selling author of the budget-friendly, fresh, and local diabetes cookbook, right? So a lot of times we're following the ADA, the American Diabetes Association, that teaches us how to manage diabetes. This man and me and other people that are in our community, we're talking about this can be reversed. This can be healed is the appropriate word. He's also the award-winning TV host known for The Diabetic You. He's an acclaimed director of Trial by Fire, 8 Days in Reverse. Y'all got to check out Reverse. Check it out. If you have family members who are suffering with diabetes and someone has told them, because I remember when I was growing up, they always said diabetes was irreversible. Once you got it, you always got it. Lies, lies, lies. Y'all, you can be healed from that. He's also a type 2 diabetic overcomer. He was diagnosed in 2011 and now is thriving. He is a global health activist. I call him a disruptor. He's disrupting the status quo, making noise where noise hasn't been made, and creating this powerful patient-first media that heals and educates across the world. If we got to get it in these spaces, y'all, let's just get it. Fact check us on tonight with the things that we talk about. And yes, He's also the nephew of reggae legend Bob Marley, carrying the same legacy of truth, healing, and revolution. Baby, we in the house with Charles Mattocks tonight. I'm gonna pause for a minute and just let Charles say hi, introduce himself, and then we're gonna go deeper. Hey, Charles, thank you for being here. Make sure you come off mute, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on the first show. I love the intro. You are starting off with a bang already, which is a fantastic thing, and I admire your passion, and you're doing the right thing. So I think that you're going to have tremendous success, and you know a lot of the good people too as well to know, and you're in the right hands.
All right, I appreciate that so much. And so here's the thing, guys. We've been trained to fear food, trained to normalize fatigue, to explain away these symptoms we're having. We keep wanting to blame them on age, but we're also being asked to put our trust in pills, in surgeries, right? I'm watching friends of mine, y'all, that are I'm 54. I'll be 55 in November. Double nickels for me this year. I'm watching classmates have double amputees at this age, right? And we keep saying it's genetics. I'm here to tell you tonight, it is not genetics. It is definitely in your diet. We're eating the same thing, so we're suffering with the same thing. So we're going to have this conversation tonight about Charles's films, what he's doing with those, and why they exist, what they expose, because we got to get real and figure out that big food and big pharma ain't on our side, right? That they in it for the money. That's what people show up for. We ain't mad at them. We just don't want to be a victim of it. And so we get a chance to change that when we get knowledge. So remember, I'm also the co-founder with my husband, Sam, of Nutritional Knowledge, because we believe if you knew better, would you, could you, should you do better, right? And so we want to be that bridge over that gap in knowledge to help you know better so you can do better. We have experience. We've turned it around for ourselves. So, Charles, we're honored to have you here tonight. You have given voice to the voiceless. Cameras don't lie. And yours have captured healing in a way the world hasn't seen. And so, as we jump into this tonight, just tell us a little bit about your own journey. What was happening in 2011 when you got your diagnosis? And give us a little background about your film industry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I want to jump back when you said
Sure.
something as well. I think it's not so much into genetics, but it might be in the genetics of education and what we pass down to our children, or what was passed down to us, or what was passed down to our parents. In a sense that I think that we start to learn this health thing a little too late. Had we had learned this in high school or elementary school, a lot of us wouldn't even be in this situation right now. I remember I used to go to the studio in New York when I was making music, and the producer loved. I had no money, so I had to pay him by a pizza pie and a Coke. And I remember bringing him this big pizza pie, full on pizza, Bronx pizza, and a Coke. And I would get myself a slice or two, and just literally just salting it up. Had no idea. I didn't even think about high blood pressure. That was the last thing that was ever on my mind. I didn't think of carbs. I didn't think of the starch. I didn't think of any of this. And I think, and I keep saying I think, but if we go back to education, early education, and being able to understand sooner, a lot of us wouldn't or shouldn't be in these situations, right? So now we find ourselves, with high blood pressure and diabetes and things of that nature, and all these aches and pains and stomach issues, and now it's almost where a lot of us could be stuck in these habits now, because they're hard to break, right? We should have been kind of trained out of this a little sooner. So I think that education is a real important thing much sooner in life, and then also not waiting until you are diagnosed with something, because obviously I make, a lot of films and shows on health. And it'd be surprised how many people reach out to me and say, Charles, man, I was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. What should I do? And I'm like, bro, you know I've been doing this for a long time. You didn't have to wait until you got diabetes. You should have reached out before you had diabetes. So I think that a lot of people are reactive instead of being proactive. And then also food is the worst drug on the face of the planet. Crack, cocaine, methamphetamines is nothing compared to food, right? Because it will kill you faster than a bullet, and you can't even stop it, at times. Literally, it's that addictive. So there are a few factors that put us in these situations where now we have to be reactive instead of proactive. And it's really trying to find those who want this information and who are ready to make the change.
I agree with you. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, I can't add anything to that. The thing that I will say is that for me, and I say this often when I'm working with my clients, is that we just don't know though, right? So this brother or sister who came to you, they had no idea that they were even in line for diabetes, right? Doctors are not doing a fasting insulin. I'm just learning about it in my 50s, right? I've been going and hearing I was pre-diabetic. I've been hearing just watch it, right? And I watched myself with that number increasing over time. Same thing with my son. I watched it. But if somebody had taught me about a fasting insulin, right, it would have told a different story. And so I agree with you. If we could start earlier, as an educator myself,
Yeah.
My husband and I were on Sunday. He's on Saturday. He's an educator as well. It's the same thing that we are now trying to pump is parents, get your children tested. I mean, it's not even happening.
Yeah.
One of my clients who is making such a difference in her life, she is now doing the same thing with her son. Like, my son is not coming to Mums and Muffins. We need an alternative for this. My son is not coming to Donuts and Dads. That's not an incentive for us, right? And she's also getting his blood work and found out that this baby was pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree with you that we can't depend though on the mainstream to make sure we get it. This is why, your work exists. This is why I'm showing up, every week, a couple of times a week, wherever I go, because we're just sounding the alarm. We are screaming loud to try to help people say, you must advocate for yourself, because as a culture, we don't find out for real that I am diabetic and sick until I'm having a stroke. I'm at the hospital. I was with a family member that was getting toes amputated at the time that they were learning that they were diabetic, because they had been going to the doctor year after year after year, getting a normal. Another good friend of mine in her 70s, I've been saying, hey, do you know your A1C? Called to the doctor, and the nurse told her that, oh, yours is normal. It's been like this for 3 years. It's a 5.7. Well, that means she's been pre-diabetic for 3 years. Mm-hmm. But the caveat to that is she's been insulin resistant, and she's seeing some complications that no one has gotten to their root cause. Mm-hmm. So you're right. We gotta get there sooner. And hopefully in education, it's going to change as the USDA starts to talk about not having too much sugar, but it's going to take parents getting together. It's going to take your films. It's going to take these type of shows where we don't sugarcoat it, literally don't sugarcoat it, and just get real with folks and then trust them to go fact check it tonight. So thank you for saying that. And I agree with you. We have to start much younger. I want to acknowledge Dr. Hampton is speaking to both of us on tonight. Dr. Hampton, Tony Hampton said, just waving at my brother and sister, keep up the good way. Thank you for joining us.
That's a good brother right there.
Yes. And on the move too. So for those of you that don't know Dr. Tony Hampton, look him up, Google him. He's putting out some amazing videos with some good information to help you reverse that. He's doing it with his patients. This stuff we're talking about, this is the place we learn it from, right? As a Dr. Tony Hampton coming on the scene and seeing these changes with his own patients. So thank you, Dr. Hampton, for stopping by tonight. All right, my brother, talk to me a little bit again about your journey. Let's dive into that, because you show up in a space like this where you are experiencing your healing. You're trying to pull other people in, and what I know is that people, unless we start pulling out the pictures, the before and after pictures, unless we start pulling out the lab work to show and prove, people, when we start having these conversations, they think that we don't understand. I just love my this, and I don't think I could ever give up pasta. I've been eating this my whole life. When we've been on that journey, I was a whole cupcake girl, a whole cake. I would buy you a cake if it was your birthday. You better give me the four corners off of it where the most icing was, right? When I learned that you could have a birthday without a cake, without a birthday, it messed me up. I could just go to the store and buy a cake. Really? I was no good. So I like to try to keep that realness for people so they can understand I'm yet on my journey, but boy, have I come a long way, and knowledge is what brought me there. So tell us a little bit about the beginning of your journey.
Well, my journey was when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And it's interesting. I was making cookbooks before that that were about health. And I want to say that I was a published author with the ADA around that time. And and I'm still on my journey, but it really opened up my eyes when I was diagnosed, when I literally was at a friend's house and I was just using the bathroom a little bit too much, urinating. And I thought, hey, you know what, take me to the local it was a Saturday, it was a little clinic, and so take me over there. Let me give them some little story, get some antibiotics and go about my business. I didn't know what was going on. Maybe I had a kidney, bladder infection. I self-diagnosed it myself, right? So the doctor, who was, severely overweight, came in and said, "Do you have a family history of diabetes?" And I said, "What?" I'm trembling at this point. And I'm like, "No." Yeah, because that was the last thing I ever thought. I didn't even think of no diabetes. And he said, "Yeah, well, I could put you on some medication." And I'm like, "What? Medication?" And and I'm like a hypochondriac anyhow. I go to the doctor all the time. My eye might twitch and I'm going to the doctor. So I had literally said, no, 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 I'm good. And what blew me away was because I was regularly going to the doctor, and the fact that I didn't have any, they didn't and mention any elevated blood sugar or anything like that. And I literally just got in the car, went home, and the first thing I did was look in the mirror, the physical mirror. And I said to myself, "Bro, you need to lose some weight." Because at that time I was doing a lot of lifting and, hitting the gym and bulky and stuff like that. And I thought I was eating healthy. I remember I used to drink I used to drink ginger ale. I don't know where this came from, because I thought it had ginger in it and I thought it was healthier. But and to that point too as well, I don't think anybody who is diagnosed, especially with type 2 diabetes, it comes at a surprise per se. And I say that only because if you really look back at that person and their lifestyle choices, whether it was stress or whether it was lack of sleep or poor, habits, eating habits, we probably can say, yeah, no, I got how I got there. Could it have been avoided by, a blood test where the doctor said, "Hey, it's a little bit elevated. You may want to, cut back on certain things or whatever like that, or change your lifestyle." Yes, but I also believe that it doesn't come. I wasn't surprised per se. I was surprised because I didn't know anything about diabetes as a Black man, but I wasn't surprised as far as why, because I look back and I think of, I wasn't sleeping, I was stressing myself. I was, just had a child at that point, so I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going to make myself a sandwich with, processed meat and two or three sandwiches, and wasn't doing any cardio per se at the gym. I remember I would have my weekends where I would go and get my Chinese food, you know, the fried rice and the fried chicken
Ooh,
and all of that kind of stuff. And I wasn't aware about health at all, per se. I wasn't thinking of it because, especially as we are younger, we only think about we're invincible. You know, from the time we are 16 to 25, we are invincible, right? Nothing, no sickness, no harm, no foul can come to us. And then, you know, as we start to get older, we realize some of the choices that we made. Um, are catching back up to us. And to that point, what you had mentioned, you know, I think the why of this is really important because um, nobody being sick is not fun. Being sick and going to doctor's appointments. You know, I was trying to make a doctor appointment last week, Friday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can get you in on the 13th." And I'm thinking, the 13th? You know, what if I'm not feeling right and I need to go in there and see my doctor and get a quick blood test, just to, you know, just an overall panel. I got to wait 13 days to see my doctor. So you know, and then just in general, as we start to get older, we start feeling them little creaks and crevices and cracks, and you know, and maybe our you know our urine ain't the way it's supposed to be, or little things like that would make you where you say, you know what, I need to avoid this. I want to live my 70, 80, 90 years healthy,
yeah.
not burdened by doctor's appointments and stressed out because we made some poor health choices that could be avoided. And, you know, I'll throw it back to you. But one thing I could say is I didn't even realize that I was actually addicted to food. And I'm like a crackhead with this stuff. And it's been a fight. And, you know, at times I think I'm losing that fight. But then, you know, I do know enough to snap back in, but it's very difficult. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they have a food addiction. It's normal to go and get the fast foods. It's normal to go to the buffet at one of those places, and make sure that the food is falling off the side of the plate, and we're going back to get more, you know, of this food. It's normal for us to do this,
And
and
you're
you know,
knocking it, you're hitting it. I mean, you are hitting it because this addiction part of it goes back to the sugar. The
yeah,
thing that we're eating, all of those things on the buffet, right? All of those things at the fast food are now metabolizing in the body as sugar, right? And so that's the part we don't understand is that we're eating things that, you know, we somehow think they're healthy. You know, they came in a package, they lied on the front of the package to us. We never decided to turn it over on the back and read the facts, right? And so you're right. That was my problem. When I tell you, I can't even begin to help you understand meat and cake. It didn't matter. It could be anybody's birthday. You gonna get a cake from me. And I didn't see a problem with it, right? I
yeah,
never connected the eczema, the
mm,
dandruff,
mm,
the pre-diabetes, the
mm,
visceral in my stomach. I kept calling it baby fat. I mean, my son was 30 years old. I was still talking about baby fat, right? It's been here ever since then. And so those are the connections. You're so right, is that we are not making. And we point at other addictive things like, you know, as you said, crack cocaine.
mm,
We point at you know, alcoholism. But what we don't understand is that they all are rooted in plants,
yeah,
right? Philip Morris was in this cigarette business, got out that business and got into the sugar business to make chemicals. You
yeah,
look at the Kellogg's company, John Kellogg's, right? Who is making cereal. And you, if you read the back, there's nothing nutritious
mm,
about eating that. It is just a quick way for them to make money
yeah,
and a faster way for you to find yourself in somebody's hospital, and now they've helped their pharmaceutical buddies,
yeah,
you know, give you a drug.
yeah,
So you're hitting it right on the head and bringing it and making it real to people who are listening, because what I want our listeners and our viewers to understand is that it definitely is tied to eating. A doctor is going to tell you no, it's not. But we're saying to you that change what you eat and you're going to change what those diagnoses are almost instantly. My clients that I'm working with, they've shocked themselves on how they've been able to look better, feel better. And you talked about losing weight, right? We're talking about what I try to teach is that is inflammation, right? It is old food that we could not metabolize. We couldn't poop it out. We couldn't cry it out. We couldn't pee it out. Let me just be real. So guess what? The body stored it. You just pushed it over to the side. One, because it wasn't nutrients, right? And so the body's like, okay, this ain't what I really want, but just in case I don't get no more, let me hold on to this. And this is why it sits. This is why it ferments, right? And so then that inflammatory place is what causes disease. Type 2 diabetes is just one of those manifestations. I call it like a reaction, right? That's a reaction, an insulin resistant reaction. But you have others. My brothers are not looking at their testosterone, right? To see that their erectile dysfunction is still connected to what they're eating. PCOS. I was working with a brother who was having GERD, right? He was having acid reflux. He's like, yeah, I can't eat that red meat. It makes me choke up. That's because you've damaged this area with carbohydrates, right? And so, yeah, I appreciate you nailing that and being so transparent about, you know, what's happening with you. So take us further, brother, into like what helped you turn this to the camera. So you got a background in film already before learning about your diagnosis. And so you took that strength, that gift, if you will, and let it make room for this space. So talk about how you started using that gift to now be a voice for others.
Well, yeah. So I wanted to kind of chronicle my story. And so I just started literally just hiring people to shoot it. And because I wanted to kind of show, and at this point, you know, diabetes was the hot thing, it was being talked about. And I wanted to just show what it was like to kind of try to reverse your diabetes, even though it was someone who didn't know anything about it. And but that kind of led to a lot of doors where I had no idea that this door led to that door. So I started finding out information about pharmaceutical companies, about nutraceutical companies, about the healthcare business, about fast foods, about because once again, you know, this is stuff we don't think about. It's like talking about the Pentagon. You know, you have no idea. You know, you might just see it as one thing, but you have no idea the intricacies that go into all the secrets and the this and the that and the counterterrorism and all of this stuff like that. You're just thinking that it's one thing. So as I started to go into and take a deep dive, I was shocked. I was shocked, and it just kind of led me more on a deeper dive. And at that point, also, I said, you know what, this could also be a nice switch as far as a business. There's nobody who looks like me who's doing this, and I started reaching out to some companies and saying, hey, I wanted to shoot a documentary. I wanted to do this, and they, you know, back then they were really like, hey, let's, you know, we'll get behind you, we'll support you. So that kind of snowballed. And then how I got to the TV side of things was I wanted to create something to be able to educate people in one fall swoop, where instead of trying to navigate this crazy system, you could sit down in the comfort of your own home and watch somebody who was going through what you're going through and see how they battled that. So we started off with Reverse, where we took 5 people living with type 2 diabetes and various other conditions and brought them to Jamaica and teamed up with a great company that sponsored that. And we saw tremendous success, right? We saw people who lost upwards of 50, 60 pounds, came off of insulin, came off of, you know, other medications. We did see, you know, someone who was on the show who didn't take this serious, who passed away probably about maybe a year later from diabetes complications. They had a, you know, a diabetic amputation. Their wound was smelling, and it was a mess. And they came to the show actually smoking cigarettes. So you know, we do know and understand the severity of what happens from uncontrolled diabetes. It will kill you, and it will slowly kill you at times. So that's kind of how I really started to get into this, and then just started to, continue the advocacy work, and, doing speaking engagements and working with the International Diabetes Federation and the American Diabetes Federation Association. Stopped working with them because I realized that, I remember being at an event and seeing I wanted McDonald's as a sponsor. And also, when we would do these events, there would be very little people who were there who had diabetes. It was more of an advertising platform for pharmaceutical companies and things of that nature. And I'm like, you know what? This doesn't feel right, And now, since, looking at them over the last few years through the lens, you realize that they're definitely not for the people. They're for the profit, and they make a lot of money. And they're an organization that has to run and has to pay big bills and has to pay big salaries, and they've got to get money from the people who they so-called, should be fighting against, and they've got to fit that mold. So, but real quick too as well, I think that there's no new information out here underneath the sun. We all know what we should and shouldn't be doing.
Right.
I was looking at, I think his name is Ben Azid, who's pretty big in the carnivore keto community too as well.
Okay.
And he was talking about, the visceral fat, which was very interesting, and how to get rid of that, and so on and so forth, and what to eat. And it was very interesting. But I think that, to be honest with you, once again, if we just got down to the core of it, and that is really the nutrition, we wouldn't have to worry about how we get rid of visceral fat, right? If we got down to the core of wouldn't have to worry about how we get rid of type 2 diabetes, wouldn't have to worry about how we, can control our blood pressure. If we, and a host of other things that are befalling us, if we focused on proper nutrition.
And and you just said a mouthful with that, and it is the thing that people struggle with, because when I say to people what we need is protein and fat, they like, fat, you can't eat fat, right? And what they don't understand is that we've been tricked out of eating fat, right? But scientifically, if you do your homework, right, the body will thrive on protein and fat. You should prioritize protein, and then fat is like a lever for you, and you get a chance to manage that. Carbohydrates are non-essential. I
Yeah.
often say you can live longer and better without them. They
Mhm.
are going to metabolize as sugar. They are saccharide. I don't care if it's fruits, if it's vegetables, they are all going to be sugar in your body. They may not be sweet tasting sugar. And so a lot of times when people hear us say sugar, they
Mhm.
think we're only talking about sweet tasting sugar, but you also have to manage the amount of fruit and vegetables. I see one of my clients here who's been on the show as well, and she was eating veggie burgers with a
Mhm.
bun,
Mhm.
right? Drinking a protein shake. All of this in an attempt to be a pescatarian, in an attempt to be healthy, only to realize that she was basically eating sugar all day long. And she wasn't uh, a heavy person, right? She was 150 trying to lose 15 pounds, and she was offered a weight loss drug, right?
Mhm.
And so she had this illusion of health, but wasn't getting to the root cause. And so that's what we're aiming to do here on Carnivore-ish Conversations, is to open up. Everything starts with a conversation, right? And these are the conversations that we are not having. And so tonight, that's what we're starting with, these conversations. What is the lab work you need to be getting? How do you advocate? I see one of my other clients on here tonight had a whole fight basically with a dietitian telling her about her cholesterol, not looking at that she's lost the weight, she's healing, her body is doing better. She is not puking every time she puts something in her, right? And so just learning to be an advocate, I often say that the doctor works for you. Just remember that you pay them. I had
Mhm.
a whole conversation with a cardiologist who would not give me my labs without me coming in and paying for another appointment. I got on the phone with my insurance company and just said to them, hey, listen, I've already paid for these labs. This was not covered by insurance, but this doctor is trying to make me come back into his office, pay him again to read them. I just need my results. That insurance company picked up the phone, called that doctor. He called me within 20 minutes, right? So I'm saying that to say that you must learn how to self-advocate for yourself. Identify, of course, learn what your labs are. Be data-driven with your labs. And then start to be a part of a community, man. Find you a Charles, look him up, look a Dr. Hampton up. Find me, and let's keep having this conversation on tonight. So let me ask you before we go further, because I just got all kind of questions for you, and I do want to introduce Red Volk on tonight. Do you want to take a couple of questions first?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let me roll down the questions list and just acknowledge some of the folks that are here tonight. I mean, I've been coming on Monday nights, and I mean, folks are really like trying to get on a journey, and they are committed to, you know, being in this space and learning what they can. I get text messages about, you know, I got my A1C and you right, I'm insulin resistant. Like, where do I go from here? And so I just appreciate you kicking this off with me on tonight. So I do want to acknowledge this is a student I had, Yay Bear, way back in, I taught her in 5th grade. She's a whole grown woman now. It's been years. That's, if you all do not know my terrific life, go follow her. She has some amazing, she's also a carnivore. Barbara Wellington on here tonight as well is a Karnivor'Ish. Barbara worked with me and just changed her life around. I mean, lost 48 pounds. Had not been a meat eater. She wasn't a meat eater. And now she is a meat eater. I want to acknowledge Joyce House here on tonight. We talked about Dr. Berry, Dr. Janet Gore. So here's your first question. Let me get there. I saw a question here. Again, some of this is, yep, here we go. All right, so how can we get our men to listen? How do we get them to try the carnivore lifestyle? So I want to set that up a little bit more for you, Charles. So before you answer the question, talk about what carnivore means to you and what it's done for you. Like, how do you find yourself in that space? Because even before this show, I often refer to myself as Carnivore-ish. That's how I kind of came up with it, because I make a mean ice cream. It's made with coconut milk, right? I use a little allulose in there as a sweetener for it. And so this show is not about being dogmatic. This show is about understanding nutrients and not having a mystery on what's happening with your body. So talk to us a little bit about your carnivore journey, and then we want to hear from you what you think about how to get more men on board.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, we had done the keto show in Costa Rica, and I remember, of course, because keto and carnivore kind of go hand in hand. And I remember looking at some stuff on carnivore, thinking that these people are insane. How are you going to tell me we should eat bacon and eggs, and we should eat steak on a regular basis, and especially bacon and eggs, you know, because I mean, you know, with bacon, you hear how horrible bacon is for you per se, and eggs with all the cholesterol and stuff like that. I literally thought these people were insane. And then I started to actually do some research, and I was blown away because they were making so much sense. And understanding what, once again, we have been taught and misled with, right? So just like if you think of, you know, we eat maybe not porridge, but oatmeal. You know, we think oatmeal, yeah, we eat some oatmeal, good for the cholesterol, good for this, that, and the other thing. And if we understood how horrible that actually is for us, but we thought it was good for us. We've been taught that this was good for us. You know, there was even a time where they said, yeah, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Then it got to a point where it was like, you know what? No, an apple a day is not per se good for you, you know? So there's so much confusion. And I think once you get down to the basics where it's like, you know what? we were meant to, God created us and allowed us to go out there and eat meat. And when we think of, staying away from the oxidative stress and the inflammation, and knowing that meat doesn't cause that, knowing that meat can actually heal us, right? Because we're not taking in the carbs, the starch, and the sugars, right? Because when we have our nice, rice on the plate, and me being Jamaican, and we have our nice plantains and dumpling and banana and all of this stuff, it's killing us. Jamaica is one of the highest islands with, as far as amputations, right? Because and also diabetes is running rampant. Why? Because we have taken on these foods that, even, of course, back then, you had to do what the best you could do with them, with what you had. But we've taken on these foods and also lifestyle, and now it's come back to haunt us. So being able to go to a place where you're not, consuming all of this mess, especially processed foods, is a place where you can find some healing. And I've found a lot of healing with carnivore. And don't get me wrong, I'm probably 90% carnivore. I might have a steak and I might want some string beans in there. You know what I'm saying? Just why, I don't know, but it's pretty much 95% carnivore. Life is also short, and I don't want to deny myself of something that I might want. Let's say, like you said, it might be somebody's birthday, or and I might want a nice little slice of something. But I think that comes as a treat, right? And I'm not advocating anything. Everybody, I think, there's people, I even saw was it Dr. Berry or Sean Baker say something about having a glass of wine or something like that. He did, every now and then. So I don't think anybody's so strict that they don't indulge here and there on something. Life is, once again, it's too short. But I look at it as a treat. So if I'm gonna have a slice of cake once every 6 months on somebody's birthday, it was something where I looked at it as my treat. I've been doing so good, and I've changed my health, and I've changed my life, and I could afford to have one slice of cake. But as far as getting someone's husband or more men, I would say lead by example. And let them understand. There's some great videos out there that you could show them that, Dr. Anthony Chaffee breaks down really about, the whole plants and what plants and vegetables are really doing. And it's brilliant to understand what plants and vegetables and things like that are doing to the body. So I think show them some videos, let them listen firsthand and get an understanding, and then prepare some stuff for them. Make that man a nice steak that he can't refuse. What man's going to turn down a good steak and some eggs?
Exactly.
And maybe make love to him after. You know what I'm saying? That
That's
might,
what's up.
I
often say, I say this to the men. I say, meat need meat. Like, come on, right?
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that you said about because we talk about this insulin resistance, where your body is resisting insulin, it's overproducing insulin, and the goal then is to become insulin sensitive. And so I think what you're saying is, again, not advocating for how to keep these things in. The goal is like, where is your sensitivity, right? You're in a place now where you are insulin sensitive. So you can indeed say that something is a treat versus a defeat, right? But if like for me, eating a whole cake is, that's a whole defeat, right? That's still living in your addiction. And what I say is, you crave what you continue to have. So now I crave steak, right? Today I was just like, well, I'm gonna fast through it. Today I'm gonna fast through it. Man, I needed some chicken wings. But guess what? I'm frying my chicken wings in the beef tallow that I cooked, right? And so those are some things that we have missed. I remember my grandmother having a bacon grease, can in the kitchen. So now I have a bacon grease can and a beef tallow can in my kitchen because I'm learning something different. So we're not talking about deprivation. One of the things we teach with our company is that there is no deprivation. There really are some switches. You mentioned eating oatmeal. Oatmeal is going to metabolize as a sugar. And so when it metabolizes as a sugar, you could have fed yourself some bacon and eggs, right? And you would have been satiated. Remember, the goal here is to get informed, to get satiated so that you can begin your healing.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to say about that is when we are in a space of not being healed or not being able to acknowledge what's happening in our bodies, then we do get stuck, right? We don't understand that the whole goal is to switch the ingredients. I tell my son, I'm not saying give up burgers. I'm saying give up the bun, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm about to have a burger when I'm done here, and it's going to be a fantastic burger. And
absolutely.
no
bun needed.
No bun needed, man. And I'm gonna lock that burger up, and a lot of carnivores, eat cheese too as well, and so I'm gonna slap some cheese on that bad boy and go with that.
Look at Dr. Hampton when you were speaking earlier about 13 days. Dr. Hampton was like, "Yeah, that's pretty fast in this day and time," and he's right, because I was trying to see a doctor and they were like 2 months out. 2 months out. Drop it down into the comments a little bit more. You want to read the facts. That's reading labels on the back. Become an informed ingredient inspector. Inspect what you put inside your body.
Well, remember, you don't have to read no labels if you eating the proper nutrition, right? You don't have to read. You don't have to read labels. There's no label on a steak per se. There's no label on an egg or bacon or some cheese or some fried chicken wings or in the little oven thing. That you don't have to read those things. That's what the great thing about. I remember not too long ago. I think my stomach was hurting me a little bit, and I had some this was a couple months ago, and I had some soup in a little box, you know what I'm saying, because stomach was hurting me, and I just I wasn't gonna make it. I said I need to get some soup, and when I tell you that soup had me peeing all night from the amount of sodium in that thing, and you really understand how we're accumulating these things in our bodies. And had I just taken a different route, I wouldn't have had to go through that, and so we don't need to read anything, because that thing is filled with sodium and filled with processed things inside there, and that we preservatives that we don't need. And I think if we just keep it really simple and make it some bacon and eggs, and I think what happened with that is that we have been conditioned to think that cholesterol is the enemy. So when I was hearing that initially regarding the bacon and the eggs and things like that and the steak, I'm like, man, these people are gonna kill you. You're gonna die of cholesterol. Then you start understanding the whole cholesterol myth, which there's actually a book called The Cholesterol Myth, and you start hearing it from a lot of these experts like Tony and Chafee and Kiltz and Berry, and you're like, wow, we have literally been lied to through and through, because they want to put us on the statins, which will kill us faster than a bullet. So, and it shows that there's, little to no correlation between cholesterol and heart disease and things like that. But that's what had me in fear, the cholesterol.
Same here, Charles. I had the same problem. I was, taking prescribed the cholesterol med. I was doing better. Things were healing. And I'm telling people, like, statins are like an $8 trillion business. Yeah. Right. And it's not the cholesterol that you eat. It is the sugar that you're eating that is causing heart disease. It is not cholesterol. again, there's a standard care for one group of people and another standard care for another group of people. And so you have people here, Charles, myself, you have a Dr. Berry, you have a Maria Emmerich, like we, and a Dr. Tony Hampton, my doctor, Dr. Yvonne Moore, who's my gynecologist. Like, we're trying to help people understand that you must advocate for yourself. You don't get to take a back seat and let this thing be a mystery to you and what's happening inside of your body, because cholesterol is the best thing for you, right? So they're doing these studies now in my metabolic scientific training. They're doing these studies now where they're showing that patients who are dying with dementia and Alzheimer's, one of the commonalities that they're seeing is that their brains were like depleted of cholesterol. So we're now calling that type 3 diabetes. So when we grew up, dementia was the old folks, disease. You got it because you were old. No, you are getting it because of the sugar. So you got diabetes, there's sugar of the blood, you got dementia, there's sugar of the brain, you got cavities, there's sugar in your teeth. Like, it all goes back to how sugar is working in your body, in this love for it that we have. I want to jump through some more questions because we haven't got to wrap it. I'm not letting you go until we pump that out. So let me slide through some of these. I'm getting a couple of I love yous on here. Let's see. This lady, I think this is great. She said, thank you for the 90% comment, right? That gave her some freedom. And this is why, for anybody who is listening, this is why this show is called Karnivor'Ish. Right? Because we are figuring this thing out. Some people who are coming to this store have never even heard of carnivore. What is that? What does it mean? What we're really talking about is, how do you get healed? How do you get to the root cause of why you have that pain in your knee? Why you keep getting these gout flare-ups? It's not red meat and shrimp, y'all. I've been there for you. It literally is sugar. And then Diane Taylor is saying, I'm trying to gain weight, needs to gain 15 pounds. And so got to come off the sugar, true that. But how do you build muscle? It may take some exercise. You may need to eat more fat in the form of animal source fat to pick that weight up for you.
And let me jump to that one.
Sure.
Even when we think about, of course, denying ourselves, because a lot of times we can say we're strict to what we're eating, then we eat something and we are like, what on earth did I eat that for? And you actually will feel it. You'll feel tired. You may feel drained and weak. You want to go to sleep or whatever it might be, lethargic. And we realize, no, we didn't really need to eat that. You know how many times I've, especially during my journey of a food addiction, where I've eaten some stuff where I'm like, my God, what am I doing? And I'm being honest to you. There was a time where literally I'm like, I'm gonna die. And you almost get to a point, just like a drug addict, because it's comparable to that, where you're like, it's almost like you are doing a drug, and you realize that this next bite, and even if you take it, could man, I'm gonna die with this right here, and you still take it. So I don't think we're really, we of course, once again, there are some things that we just like. I'm from New York. I grew up on pizza. I'm not gonna lie, man. I love me a good slice of pizza, but I want that to be a treat for myself, where I've been so amazing for the past 3 or 4 months that, my weight is where it needs to be. My health is where it needs to be. And if I want to have a slice with a couple of friends, I can say, okay, you know what? I'm okay with that. But I don't think, because what we don't want to get into is the habit of undenying ourselves, because that comes very fast, right? So even when people say, oh, you can do this and then you have a cheat day on Sunday or Saturday, I don't believe in that, because those cheat days end up becoming 2, 3, 4 days. And then now you've thrown away what you know, and now it takes you coming back, on New Year's resolution to say, now I'm gonna get back to this. So we've had now 3 months of cheat days, and now we need to reset. So I think that, we really want to try to stick to this as much as we can. And there are times where we may like it, but if we look at healthy things, so even what we have in our house, if you have healthy things in the house that are, I love a Carnivore snacks. Those guys were our last sponsor on our MENOPAUSE series. Great little snack. Great little snack. Make some eggs. I keep hard boiled eggs inside the fridge. Throw a little pepper on that bad boy, a little salt, and man, I'm good to go. Have 2 or 3 of those, right? Ben was talking about having 6 eggs a day, 7 eggs a day. So I even make bacon and put it in the fridge, and that will be my little snack. And then once again, if I want to have a little snack, where I said, man, you know what? It's of course we shouldn't be eating at certain times of the night per se. I do a lot of intermittent fasting, but at 7-8 o'clock, if man, you just feel like eating on something, make yourself a little hamburger. You know what I'm saying? Make yourself a little steak or something like that, where you can just sit down and enjoy that. Don't make it repetitive, where this one day becomes a 3-month long run.
Right. And so I think and I just kind of want to keep unpacking this idea. So, for example, you talked about pizza. My husband eats pizza technically 3 or 4 times a week, but he literally does not eat the crust, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm teaching and working with my clients, I say, hey, the crust is like sheetrock, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is water and flour. It's going to metabolize in you as sugar. So for those that are getting to the root cause, I often say this is that we all enter into this space with different damages, right? We say 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell. You have to know your damages. For me, I can't do a slice of pizza. It's going to be on and popping, literally. If my knees going to be popping, everything is going to flare up. But what I can do is take the toppings off. So my husband makes like this casserole where he adds more ground beef. He adds more of the cheese. For me, I can't do cheese often. I have to stay away from cheese some. So you have to be in tune. This is what we call self-identify. You have to be in tune to what's happening with you. This is not one size fit all in terms of how you heal. You got to know what you're healing from before you make that decision. I can remember when I used to suffer with eczema and my neck was all ate up and my skin was all ate up, and people literally were telling me like, stay out the sun. Guess what? The sun is what I needed, right? It was my sun. It was the sun reacting to some type of sugar that was in my body. And so when I clean my system up, I don't have a problem. I don't even own sunscreen, have never used it. Right. But those are some of the things that we are taught. We are past time for the hour, but I'm not going to go without revoke. I do have one question.
Yes.
That I want to make sure is people want to know, how can they find and watch your documentaries? Are they all in one place? How can they find you and find Reversed? We've talked about Reversed, 8 Days. There's another one called Trial by Fire. Tell us how we can find those, and then after that we're going straight to Revoke.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm getting ready to launch. I've taken a lot of them are on Amazon and Tubi and Apple TV and things like that, but I've taken a lot of them offline because we are launching a new platform. I wanted to create a space that was sort of like a WebMD, but much better, much more creative, much more hip, a place where we can really tell and create the narrative and control the narrative. So it's called revoke.com. It will be out probably in the next few weeks. We're just working on some back end stuff right now, as far as working with some big ad agencies and so forth. But it's a beautiful site, and I'm really excited about it. And I'll have all of our shows on there, because I wanted to kind of fish out of a barrel instead of fish out of a lake, and be able to have people come to our site and watch these shows and not have to search all over the place for the programs. And so I'm excited about that. We're also working on a new health news network. or talk show network. So what I want to do is be able to bring cohesively all of these amazing people together, because you've got this one with a podcast, that one with a podcast, this one giving out great information. But I wanted to create a space where people can turn on something and watch these amazing experts that we all know and love, who have such depth and also passion, and they can find it in one place where they can get all this great information. So we're looking to start shooting that very soon, and we've got Dr. Kiltz involved with that. I'd love to I spoke to Dr. Chafee about being a part of that too as well. Dr. Sarah, who is also a carnivore and coach too as well. She's going to be a part of it, maybe even a co-host. And it's not carnivore based, but it's definitely going to talk about proper nutrition and be able to speak on that.
So I have the video pulled up, and I'm going to take the time. If you still have the time, I want to play the video. So bear with me and make sure I know how to do this properly. Bear with me 1 sec. Oh, I could have put it in as a file. Okay, but let me see if I can do it this way. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go.
Can't see it though.
Did you say you can't see it?
No, I can't see it.
Oh, I see.
Motivated to create programs
Let me start it
that
over.
allow people living with conditions.
Here we go.
To
go back.
My name is Charles. Many know me for our award-winning films and TV shows on health-related topics. As a health advocate, seen on such shows as CNN, Dr. Oz, The Today Show, I was motivated to create programs that allow people living with conditions to see themselves and be inspired and educated through storytelling, and for our advertisers to reach their core target audience. We have done such shows on topics as diabetes.
If I didn't want the best for these people.
If I get my diabetes under control, my retinopathy is going to go away.
I want you guys to kind of really see what complications can come from uncontrolled diabetes. Cancer.
When you get diagnosed with cancer, it's like there's no hope.
Cancer is a subject I thought I would never have to know anything about.
The scan was so ugly. It was so scary.
Longevity.
Graves, and I am one of the board members and founder at DoNotAge.org, the health research organization. We focus on making what's available right now accessible and affordable in terms of longevity for consumers.
There's been a revolution in our understanding of health and longevity, and this knowledge has personally transformed my life, and I've now made it my mission to help deliver this information.
Just to name a few. And coming soon, our new series on menopause.
So excited to take this journey with you guys and explore menopause and perimenopause and hormones in general and what it means to talk about it.
Menopause is something that I absolutely love to talk about, and I love to help my clients with, and being part of this with all these women who are going to be partaking in this in metabolic balance and menopause, and watching all the other professional people here working with the clients and the patients has been remarkable.
Information that best serves you. I know sometimes it can be a little bit like information overload and can become very...
But that's just the tip of it. We saw a need where a platform, our new website, Revoke.com, could be a fresh face to reach people, to talk about the topics that people want to hear. A cross between CNN meets Vice News meets The View. Not just catering to advertisers, but the people advertisers want to reach. Many sites have gotten lazy and complacent with the same stories and lack of new content. We will also have a streaming network on our platform where our programs will air. We will also cover events in health with a 2-person team, allowing our viewers to know the latest on new medicines, treatments, technologies. But it does not stop there. We are working on a health news network where we can create and control the narrative. With 80 million a month searching for healthcare information, our network will be a tool to reach target audiences, to retain and give the best options on healthcare, from FAQ to educated medicine and treatments. There are so many stories to share and experts to feature, a hub for all things health told by young, fresh faces and seasoned, trusted veterans in health. It's a new age, and Revoke.com is here to help bring this change to the masses.
Thank you, sis. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. And
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure that we didn't leave that out because the work continues, right? We are here for it. I mean, you're at the forefront. You are heavy hitting, not being silent about it, not asking for permission to be, but just being and helping folks really try to heal is the place that I like to keep pushing us because we are not well. So I also want to just say, y'all, this is not the last time you'll see Charles in this space. We're going to have him back again. I appreciate him coming on tonight. Remember, tonight is Karnivor'Ish, right? We want to be informed. We want to be satiated, right? We want to say, go get satiated. Eat a steak tonight on us, right? Eat some butter, eat some eggs. Don't be scared. Like, go ahead and eat it, right? Push yourself to a place of optimal healing. You know, and tonight we started with a heavy hitter. Charles is going to come back. We're going to have others that are going to come. This is a space that is sacred, right? It is going to be a space where we can speak plainly, we can love boldly, and we can heal deeply. We want to be healing deeply. Tonight, if you haven't already, like, join us on our Karnivor'Ish community on Facebook. If you'll go to this website and join the community, this is another place where you can get some great information. Ask your questions. Don't be shy about them. Trust me, I've heard it all. I've had clients reach back out to me after trying this for 7 days saying, hey, girl, you know, my poop don't stink no more. I was like, yeah, you're no longer eating waste. So you don't have to have a poop. I have people telling me that, you know, they don't poop as much. Guess what? That's because your body is now using what you're eating versus trying to spit it out, which is what it does with plants. So come back next week. Next night, as we're getting started, I have another guest. Her name is Tanya Taylor. She's brand new to this lifestyle. She just completed her 30 days of carnivore, and she is glowing. You don't want to miss this one either. Listen, guys, you didn't miss it. You are arriving exactly when your body's ready to heal. We'll see you next week. This is Karnivor'Ish Konversations, where we're breaking it down and having those courageous conversations that we need to be having to ensure that we heal and that we heal those around us. Charles, I want to leave you with the last word, brother.
I would just say congratulations once again. Keep doing your thing and know that, you know, in what you're doing, it's really about leaving a legacy, right? You want to leave something to change other people's lives. And I think that's what a lot of us really are here for. We want to leave something not only to change our life, but to change other people's life. And we got to make sure we support these efforts, because whether it's a share, whether it's a like, you know, it doesn't take anything, you know, out of our day or out of your day to make sure you share this show or send it to somebody or share it to 10 people. I get on social media at times just to share somebody's stuff. I might not even know them like that, but I could see their efforts. So please take the time to just share, you know, send a link to some people. You can send it right now to 10, 20 people just so that they can get some benefit of it, because she is taking the time. And a lot of these experts are taking the time to really, you know, fight for something greater and help save somebody else's life. So keep rocking, and I'll see you soon, you know?
Absolutely. I appreciate you, brother. So good night for now. We'll see you back here on Monday, 6 Central Time, for another episode of Karnivore-Ish, right? Karnivore-Ish
Yes,
Right?
yes,
Join us again next week. Thank you so much.
yes.